All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 2011 International Spoken Word Festival, Smart Men, Hot Words. I am legally obliged to tell you that I am CBC's Russell Bowers. And of course, you may know the CBC from such things as the radio and the TV. Yep. And some of you may know us, of course, from our role in subverting democracy with an online survey. Just happy to do our part. We have got a great second half lined up. And the first person that's going to come up here is also a contributor to the Spoken Word Workbook, which is, of course, available here tonight. And it's José Aquilin. And I'd also like to bring to the stage to help with the translation of tonight's introduction, Elise Robert. All right. Well, starting in 1987, Everything is Nothing, and continuing to 2008's Paradoxes of Fragility, José's work has challenged and inspired for more than 2 decades. He was nominated in 1996 for the Governor General's Award for Poetry for The Bird Breathing. José is known to be a poet open wide to the world. He's the author of 15 books of poetry and collections, and for over 25 years, he's been an active reader, performer, organizer of events mixing poetry, music, and the visual arts. And he's done this across this country, as well as in Europe and Latin America. His newest work, The Man Who Delivers Clouds, is a Guernica edition, and it's available here tonight.
Thank you, Russell. I'm so glad to be there in Calgary with you.
Je suis très heureux d'être avec vous à Calgary, avec vous.
So, Elizabeth and I will read her in English and me in French, excerpts from The Man Who Delivers Clouds.
Alors, Elisabeth et moi allons lire de mon livre, moi en français, elle en anglais.
Au nord, la peau est une neige. Au sud, la peau est une terre. À l'ouest, la peau est une grande tortue. À l'est, la peau est un manuscrit vide. Et au centre, la peau est une étoile qui fuit pour nous faire comprendre le bleu.
If the cage gate opens and the bird stays in, are we to blame the cage?
À midi, les guêpes sont ivres de trèfle. Regarde l'ombre du vent sur la mer. Nous sommes des éleveurs de pierres, encore à l'apéro de l'éternité. À minuit, un nuage passe, et c'est la Voie lactée.
The earth beneath the ground, the head in a cloud. Be as silent as the cirrus in the deep sky. Give all you want to the end of your games, and more if you can. Still we need proof. The earth is an air chamber in a sun house. Death wants a bolt of light to strike it down. A bird has more balance in flight than on a wire.
Le soir est calme dans l'air doux. Je monte sur un cap de bleuets et d'immortels. J'allume un regret, le jette en bas des falaises. Un goéland à manteau noir passe et repasse et lit dans mon non-pensée le vide imparfait de ce qui existe. Oui, la mer est bleue parce que le ciel est bleu.
We see only that which we recognize. For years, I spent my time writing that I was not alive. For years, I believed to be the listener of clouds that claim they change light. In fact, it is motionless light that displaces clouds. Today, I see love as death of death. Today, I see poetry as an empty orange. Today, I see the breathable bird that breathes us in.
C'est une des plus belles façons de disparaître. Le ciel a l'air d'une ardoise ronde, laiteuse. Un soleil blanc y souffle un cercle au centre. Le vent soulève deux oiseaux très hauts. Allongés au fond de grandes herbes, dans un champ jaune, personne au monde ne sait que je suis ici. Moi non plus. Et maintenant, Elisabeth va vous lire un extrait un poème qui est publié dans le Workbook.
A beautiful translation created for this event by Fortner Anderson, who we say hello to back in Montreal, and one of my favorite poems. The future presence. I shall be writing till that night my eyes cease raining down upon the world. Two suns shall appear, and I shall be happy not being there, watching their light shine one upon the other. The light of what we've seen of beauty shall continue forever, opening the wound of life. I shall have said the necessary about weakness to have the strength to persist, to forget that they expect of us. When happiness and tragedy fight to the death, each wishing us to believe we are one with them, it is better to be alone and not to sleep. I shall have waited long enough for the dawns, the twilight of the night, to know when to extinguish my lantern. I shall have missed very few exaltations against the injected doldrums that force us into the real. I shall have floated between pines and crows, those grands connaisseurs of clouds, themselves the great masters of zero. I shall have accepted my rocky soil, the rye of my eyelashes, the wolf of my eyes, and the lapis-lazuli of my ideals. I shall have opened my skin to my bones into the beyond and my presence, into the nowhere surrounding. I shall have known the forms of the profound, the endless depth of surfaces without even having the key to my hands. I shall have confused megalopolises and necropolises, words of love and love of words, follies and begonias. I shall have understood compromise. I shall have banished flags. I shall have execrated the obsequious. I shall have worked only a little in the real. I shall have raised idleness up from contemplation, that I might see, sometimes, sight becoming vision. I shall have succeeded in making myself dizzy, being seized by the obvious. No one is endlessly responsible. I shall have pushed things too far. I shall have repulsed the asses. I shall have upended the ceilings. I shall have seen the soul of which I am the shadow. I shall have been touched by the call of myth, up to the sphere of the first number. I shall have believed all the birds and their knack of rising off the earth when we want to silence them. I shall have been stubborn and tender, a child of words in peril, a boy full of gentleness. And now that another day begins, and another train of life whistles and passes, I slowly leave this poem and go out to be consumed by the night.
J'écrirai jusqu'à la nuit où mes yeux cesseront d'être une pluie sur le monde. Deux soleils naîtront. Je serai heureux de n'être plus là pour les voir se donner la lumière. La lumière de ce qu'on a vu de beau continuera toujours d'ouvrir la blessure d'exister. J'aurais dit ce qu'il faut de faiblesse pour avoir la ténacité de persister à oublier ce qu'on attend de nous. Quand le bonheur et le malheur s'entretuent, il vaut mieux être seul et ne pas dormir. J'aurais vécu à ces daubes, ces crépuscules de la nuit, pour savoir quand fermer ma lanterne. J'aurais raté très peu d'ivresse contre la grisaille injectée, exigeant de nous le réalisme. J'aurais flotté entre conifères et corbeaux, ces bons connaisseurs de nuages, eux-mêmes grands maîtres du zéro. J'aurais accepté mon sous-sol schisteux, le seigle de mes cils, le loup de mes yeux et le lapis lazuli de mes idéaux. J'aurais ouvert ma peau à mes os au-delà et mon ici où nulle part ailleurs. J'aurais connu les formes du profond, le sans fond des surfaces mêmes, sans avoir la clé de mes mains. J'aurais confondu mégapole et nécropole, mots d'amour et amour des mots, béguins et bégonias. J'aurais compris les compromis, mais j'aurais banni les bannières, j'aurais honni les obséquieux. J'aurais très peu travaillé à la réalité. J'aurais élevé l'oisiveté à la contemplation pour que parfois je voie la vue être vision. J'aurais réussi à m'étourdir pour être saisi par l'évidence. Personne n'est indéfiniment responsable. J'aurais poussé le bouchon. J'aurais repoussé les cuistres, j'aurais inversé les plafonds, j'aurais vu l'âme dont je suis l'ombre, j'aurais été touché par l'appel des mythes jusqu'à la sphère du premier chiffre. J'aurais cru tous les oiseaux et leur art de s'enlever de la terre quand on veut les museler. J'aurais été un têtu du cœur, un puéril des paroles en péril, un garçon plein de douceur. Et maintenant que notre jour se lève, qu'un autre train de vie siffle et passe, je me retire lentement de ce poème et m'en vais me laisser boire par la lumière. Yann Ferrier. Thank you, Sam. Elisabeth, thank you.
Et le magnifique José Aclin. Thank you, Charity.
Once again, José Aclin. Well, we're very pleased to welcome to the stage one more contributor to the Spoken Word Workbook. For more than 40 years, Paul Dutton has been pushing the boundaries of literary expression in books, recordings, live performances, in print, film, on TV, radio, the web, and of course here in live performance. Dutton was a member of the Four Horsemen, a group that introduced elements of theater, music, and sound poetry into poetry recordings and readings. His essays have appeared in literary and scholarly publications around the world, and books by Paul include the poetry collections Right Hemisphere, Left Ear, Visionary Portraits, Partial Additives, and Several Women Dancing. He's also got 2 solo CDs, which include Mouthpieces and Oralizations. He's a contributor to the Spoken Word Workbook, as I mentioned, and later in April, if you have the time, Paul will also be at the Edmonton Poetry Festival. Please welcome to the Calgary International Spoken Word Festival, Paul Dutton.
Thanks very much. Snare, kick, rack, and floor. Why I don't write love poems. In love too busy, and out too caught by poetry's essence, yearning. Strata, lizard brain from viper mind uncoils, spine fed up through stemmed, shrug across perimeters of thought turned from that which thought refuses. Focused on present shadows, cloaking thrust of lizard brain from viper mind, uncoiling jungle thought through branches, laced above the slither base they're transformed from that presses up along the bark. A hiss of appetite transmitted over networks buried back of lizard brain that loops its Mesozoic mind around a present order, ignorant of what slinks through suck of mud and scrape of scale upon perimeters of thought unthinking, mindless of impulses electric and uncodified, surface countered and controlled by lizard brain from viper mind that lashes out in wordless flick, unleashed within language that buckles and breaks, the lie in the eye of who would shrink from mind, for reptile-minded matter sunk from sight and coded nightly in vague reflective images that percolate from lizard brain with slick and glistening reptilian grace. Anti-lyric C9A. Of blue, by or upon yellow within green thoughts, listening in white, release a cyan dye, a shade, a shadow gone beyond azure in languor lingering a long ago. Turquoise ringing red inside a bagatelle or two before an interlude of indigo, idea unseen between. Through teal-tinted light arrayed around a sound, irradiate, eradicate, a blight upon a sonic aura, oral, aureole of microorganismic aspect. From and above cerulean sight, white might visit vision in or at a mist, a mark, a bird in flight, a single crow or lark row winging down across. Outside over coalescent cobalt forms, hybrid eyes defect evaluation, distort a tort you're liable for, a pale, transparent mineral, a barrel earring, hearing barrels staving off a spool's sloops, a yacht caught aquamarinely, a ship sapphire, ablaze in a Royal Navy midnight peacock steel electric Prussian baby midnight blue of. Time for a sonnet. Little sound one, a sonnet. Bria, 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 shoo, 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 bria, shoo, 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 bria, shoo, 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 bria, shoo, bria, shoo, bria, shoo, bria, shoo, bria, shoo, bria, shoo, shoo, bria, 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 shoo, 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 chitty brr, chitty brr, chitty brr, chitty ah, chitty ah, chitty ah, chitty pa, chitty pa, chitty pa, 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 chitty oh, chitty oh, chitty oh. So this was touted as a Chippendale night, so in the spirit of that, relax. No, that won't be happening. I'm going to read a relevant, or pertinent rather, I should say, fragment from my novel, Several Women Dancing. When you listen to this, it's a first-person narrator novel, and please, don't look at me when you're hearing what I read, because It's in the first person, and you don't want to be picturing me for what happens here. Okay, please, just if you'd all just close your eyes and try and imagine somebody about like half my age, something like that. The narrator protagonist is he's sometimes unclear exactly which reality we're in, the one inside his head or the one outside of it. But you should know a little bit about this narrator first before we get into the party that he's at. He's a guy who's obsessed with a stripper named Black Satin. He's gone to watch her in a few bars, and one night winds up at a public party extravaganza called Unzipped, where Black Satin and a male stripper named Ramrod are the featured entertainment. We picked things up with Black Satin and Ramrod performing in leather costumes together with all kinds of zippers. Well, actually, they're performing together in leather costumes with all kinds of zippers. Our guy is at stage front in a chaotic crush of people where he's being pressed against by a woman behind him and a guy beside him. Ramrod rubbing his hands over the hair on the inside of his thighs. The muscles there turned hard, sculpted as are all the muscles in his well-shaped leg. The crowd crying, "Unzip, unzip." Her breasts spilling out before my enraptured eyes. His jacket pulled back from outthrust chest as he struts around the platform whose fringe bristles with a forest of straining female arms towards which he advances and withdraws, prompting shrieks and imprecations and shrill laughter, his fingers playing with the wiry sandy hair that curls over his chest, the lush swell of her buttocks revealed by the parting of the leather, nothing on now but his bulging leather pouch and ankle-top boots, the latter of which he smilingly offers for removal by the clamoring horde, willing hands responding, the woman behind me saying, "Nice feet," which I silently, fervidly agree with, fixing my gaze on the lithe and delicate right foot of Black Satin, where a slight black slipper conceals only the sole and part of the toes, and I trail my eyes along the slim length of her leg to the folds of her vulva, which is now stretched open before me, the zipper progressing along the gentle rise of her belly, the white pouch secured on either side by short tracts of zippers thrust towards the spectators, grinding first to left, then to right, breasts squeezed together by elbows, left hip flirting with the hand that's extended the furthest and that finally reaches one last inch and vulnerable flesh near the genitals, one last inch, and rips the zipper down to expose a tuft of pubic hair, the tawny, vulnerable flesh near the genitals, a pang of arousal surging through me as nipples are pinched and buttocks caressed, right hip now bumping towards and away from the rippling sea of arms on the other side of the stage. A metal-trimmed garment of black leather sliding down a leg, and a hand makes contact with a zipper and yanks the white leather pouch, falling to the stage, and, "Oh, he's got a hard-on," sighed in my ear in awed tones as I pull away from the physically importunate blonde young man who importunes further, and from the woman behind who grinds more against me, a smile from the stage, upside down between parted legs, deep knee bends, cock bobbing enticingly, breasts kneaded and nipples pulled, PA blaring a screeching voice that asks, "Is there no end?" answers itself with, "Well, there's sure more," and ends by announcing, "For your further delectation, Jack Hammer!" And I'm on stage in a hard hat, a red neckerchief, an open denim vest, rolled bottom denim shorts and leather gloves, a smile on my face for the screaming mass that crowds the platform on which I posture and pose, then hold my fists before me at hip level and simulate the kind of body-shaking vibrations caused by operating a jackhammer, a visual double entendre that meets with a din of whistling, shouting appreciation, and I stop abruptly and begin to grind my hips, pull back my shoulders to throw off my chest, run my hands down the flat, muscular trimness of my stomach and stride the perimeter to the stage, then move to the center to peel off my vest and kick off my boots and spin and dance and play with the zipper at the front of my shorts, tantalizing the woman behind me who is there before me, laughing and reaching and shouting, Black Satin beside her, white dress trimmed with frills at bodice and hem, twirling a drink that she rests on the edge of the stage as she eyes me appraisingly, watching as I let the woman behind me, before me, pull down my zipper and pull off my shorts, to a chorus of ohs and ahs, nothing on now but a blue silk jockstrap, a hard hat and neckerchief, feeling a bit of a breeze on my butt from the waving arms as I parade round the stage, pose, dance, tease and entice, drop down and do push-ups, tensing every muscle in my body, a grin on my face, feeling the eyes upon me as hands caressing my flesh, erect in my tiny blue jock, stomach churning with erotic urgency, laughing and teasing, a chant of lumber, lumber, building in soprano crescendo till I comply, and the rolling chant erupts into a din of laughter and shrieks of delight, my eyes falling in the deafening pandemonium on black satin, who leans an elbow on the stage and beckons slowly with one finger, luring me to the edge of the stage where she's mouthing a word that I can't make out till I put my ear to her lips and she shouts, "Swizzle stick!" Her hand on my cock and her drink raised and my prick immersed in a cold shock, bits of ice bumping against the swollen head, then an enveloping warmth and a tickle of tongue as she licks her swizzle stick and smiles down at me from the stage I stand before, gazing rapturously up at her in her pose of mock modesty, one leg bent inwards, her hand over her mound, an arm across her breast, her mouth an O of pretended surprise, dozens of women now holding their drinks forth, calling, "Swizzle, swizzle!" Ramrod doing a naked breakdance routine, the woman behind me rubbing her body unambiguously against me, the O of black satin's vulva displayed before me, my head between her legs, her head between mine, my hard hat hung on my cock, the woman behind me swirling her tongue in my ear, blowing hot rapid gusts of passion, a hand on my chin pulling my head to the side, a mouth locking on mine, tongue plunging deep, the kiss broken in the face of the blond young man before me, his look tender and his voice soft, muttering, "Not tacky in the least." Thank you. I think I have time for one more sound poem. This is Anti-Lyric C9B.
very much. Paul Dutton. Well, I'm speechless. Here we go. How about, first of all, a round of applause for Jesse and the bar staff at the Auburn. They've been working hard for you tonight. Tip them well, my friends. It's good karma. Tip them well. And also because, can you hear everything fine? Everything okay? Well, the reason you can, ladies and gentlemen, is Derek from ABM Sound back there. Lights and sound. And, of course, a festival like this wouldn't happen without the contribution of an incredible team of volunteers. Yes. So, there is a sign-up sheet outside for a mailing list if you want to get more information from the festival. But if you yourself would like to help out the festival, they could always use an extra pair of hands. So if you've got some time and want to help out, do sign up there as well. So a big thanks to everybody who's made this festival happen. We have one more performer for you tonight, and also a contributor to the Spoken Word Workbook. And it's George Elliott Clark. George was born in Windsor, Nova Scotia, and he's a seventh-generation Canadian of African-American and Mi'kmaq Amerindian heritage. He's been published, of course, many times, 9 books of poetry, 3 chapbooks, 4 plays in verse, 3 opera libretti, a novel, a scholarly essay collection, and he's also edited 2 anthologies, and you thought you did a lot today. He's an award-winning poet, of course, for his writing, and he's also been appointed to the Order of Nova Scotia, and he's been appointed to the Order of Canada in 2008. Now, his opera or one of his operas that I mentioned, Beatrice Chauncey, with music by James Rolfe, had 4 stage productions and a broadcast on CBC television. The powerful opera is about slavery in Nova Scotia in the early 1800s. It's won many great reviews and enthusiastic audiences. And his work largely explores and chronicles the experience and history of the Black Canadian community of Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. And his most recent collection of poetry is called I and I. It's from Goose Lane Press, and he holds 6 honorary doctorates, one of them from the University of Alberta. Ladies and gentlemen, please, to close out the evening of smart men and hot words, would you please welcome to the Calgary International Spoken Word Festival, George Elliott Clark.
Thank you, sir. That's great. Thank you. Appreciate that. That's super useful. Thank you so much. It's a great honor to be reading here this evening. I want to thank Sherry D for inviting me. It's a great honor to be speaking here this evening once again. And, well, I'm going to launch into some things. I was told I had 15 minutes, so I'm not going to abuse my welcome. And it's actually 7 honorary doctorates now. But anyway, all that to one side. Never mind. James Brown's rhetoric. I love the fact James Brown died and didn't get buried for several months because people were arguing over where his gold casket should go. Anyway, James Brown's rhetoric. Think I go crazy. I know it's true. Baby, you're right. I've got to change. It hurts to tell you I got the feeling. I've got to cry. Don't let it happen to me. Please, please, please. It's a man's world. I got you bewildered. I won't plead no more. You're mine. You're mine. I'll never, never let you go. You made me love you. It was you. There must be a reason. You've got the power. Try me, prisoner of love. Thank you. Pushkin, great Russian poet, great black Russian poet. I want to give him his props by reading this poem, To the Poet. And it's based on I don't know Russian, so I base my translation on somebody else's translation. Her name is Constance Garnett, so I'm indebted to Constance Garnett's translation of the Russian for my translation of Alexander Pushkin. To the poet. Poet, damn you if you crave public love. People clap raucously, then fickle stop. Fools don scholars' tassels, brave their critiques, while crowds hoorays chill or scald your marrow. Best to stand, Caesar calm, statue austere, its majesty, yes, to dwell defiant, castled in your own soul, free and aloof. Perfect your flowers, distill their dream liqueurs, but ignore all praise of your past confections. Judge for yourself your vineyard's hitty wine. Your strict taste dictates its vintage sweetness. Do you want joy? Let the pack bay and howl. Let them snarl and spit on your altar's flames and breathe your temple's triumphant perfumes. To Chizioni. This is one of those poems that you write in Biarritz, France, when you can't sleep. So here it is, and I apologize for the rhymes in advance, but it rhymes throughout. When you jet on down to Basque Biarritz, you and your wallet willingly go splits, where the Atlantic flows in starts and fits, and spirits are spruced up with a lime spritz, and bikinis look best as two teeny bits. Glamour dazzles gaudy, doubled with glitz, and you are as pleased as anyone gets in a disco, jarring to a 60s blitz of hot soul during which no cripple sits, while young girl moans and her paramour spits, his hands all over her perky tits, and lovers groan until the starlight quits, with manly pegs cementing female slits, or plumbing tongues strumming so many clits, and sex acts mimic tragic comic skits, and each bull snorts and each flighty quail flits, and wild water flails wails losing its wits at the Grand Plage where each wave hits and foams and froths the sand craters and pits, while the lighthouse beckons somber poets to unsheath, unstilo as time permits, and scribble epics that croon like sonnets, the apprenticeship of Dottie Kravitz. At the casino cashing in her chits, spy B. Bardot, then those Kennedy shits, then pasty slumming Sorbonne lit crits. Some of them are twats, all of them are twits, plus film stars fading, each one a ditz, confusing Australia and Austerlitz, leaving behind extreme close-ups of zits, waistlines gone haywire, careers on the fritz. Make sure you quaff Pelforth Brune, never schlitz. Unlike Yanks and Yankee wannabe Brits, Canadians come with camouflage kits. Each murderer croons, each assassin knits, and Tories bid down with pinkos and grits. This poem recycles the beginning. It's when you jet on down to Basque Biarritz. Thank you. Red is the Côte d'Azur, the Black Sea, the Dead Sea. Red is goose-stepping gulls and overstepping dogs. Red is a bloody shit. Red, a tongue accustomed to corruption. A grievous stallion unbridled in bed charges red. Red is an orangutan licking white snatch in the Rue Morgue. Red is a severe poppy, a severed neck. The purple prose, a blonde ejaculates in a blue movie sounds red. Red is the Moki River, black with gangrene weeds brushing the surface. Red is Pushkin's statue in St. Petersburg, Russia, mobbed by Haligonian sparrows and pigeons. The invisible brilliance of hell defines red. Red is weather-beaten, worm-eaten stars. Red is black label, blue label, gold label, green label, red label. Piero Piccioni, Ennio Morricone, and Henry Mancini composed red. Red is Romania with plum blossoms and Greece with almond blossoms. See Red, starring the resplendent, elegantly sexy Helen Mirren. Red is a white lie illuminating a blackout. Red is a choir of hanged men. Red is the excellent scotch I have put away. Red is the Orange Free State, the Yellow Peril, the Black Dahlia. Red is La Cafe Soledad, 100% pure coffee from Zuaco, Mexico. Red is Yellowknife, White Horse, Green Gables, and Red Deer. An unconvincing black and a phony white appear red. Red's an asinine bull studying a pig-headed bitch. Red is April, Libra, Aquarius, and July. Red is diamonds are forever, for your eyes only, from Russia with love, because you only live twice. That library of burning books, definitely in Texas, blazes red. Red is film noir, a giallo, and a black comedy performed in white-faced mime. Red is suicidal survival. Red is Tenzon sake, alcohol content 18%, and a bottle wrapped in rice paper. Screening Blue Velvet and Black September for Green Berets is awfully red. Red is flagrant flaming violet Klansman barbecued on a blazing cross. Red is a sun-blinded fog, gold hair over a white shirt. To be transcendently black is red. Red is a wriggling, half-crushed fly. Red is Duro's Rhodos and its Rhodesian or lesbian nudes. Thinking only about the white gal's tight ass is red. Red is the white, red and blue, and the red, black and green. Red is Aboriginal and African and Chinese and Cuban and Nova Scotia. Red is Georgian Root, illuminated verses, Trudeau, Long March, Shining Path, Blues and Bliss, I and Red, poetry in the blood. Love elegy sonnet, a la manière de Pablo Neruda. Obliged to forget your olive waist, two breasts so gold the sun is golden turned, that shimmering imperium your sex, my cup culminates with blood crimson wine. I sin, I rot, I'm torn, my little heart, done, not docile, you won't be coaxed, and so my dole surges unmediated to gilded dawn, your beauty habits me. To you I would be behaving if you would be giving to me sheer down, and let my lilting tongue lay you guiltless. Please don't aggrieve me further, let me plumb the parade of your flesh, its plumb fathoms, for jasmine pursues you where you step. Thank you. I'm going to finish up with this book called The Gospel of X. And, well, you'll know what I'm talking about as I read. I'm sure my Father is God, that God is my Father. I was born of milk, not blood. I came to light outside my mother's flesh. Before an audience of dazzled cattle, attentive lambs, my legs kicked at the air. A newborn as ruddy as my mama's womb. Truly, I was as infallible as any infant. The man I call Pappy, this carpenter who can fashion no poem, hide us down to Egypt as half-caste outcasts, Jews in a Romance province. The stories told that a special star, a triangular moon like a diamond, blazing, directed our way, away from the blood-full belly of a satrap nervous of prophecies, who dispatched legions to hack to pieces a baby male population. Some old-timers never hesitate to call my birth a curse, one entailing the hurried, sudden massacre by provincial fiat of their boys, squalling infants and pissing toddlers. They whisper, too, that Pappy felt tricked by Mom, that my paternity is suspect, but the white-haired midwives gossip all was set right, when somehow at my side a coconut palm just drooped down as her mother wept and gave Pappy its fat and milk. Among the Egyptians, those sepia and copper and ivory people, much was made of my yellow ochre complexion, gold plated like the sun, but also of Pappy's clay skin and lava blood, and of Mum, her eyes large with light, a pretty street Cleopatra, so sang the papyrus jongleur, those high-maintenance poets. In Egypt, we were historic immigrants and potential penitents and converts, or so their antique priests dreamt. In our house of old wood, palm wine and music lit up our gaudy kinship. Yet, despite even fat bastard in the jug, Pappy was often moody. Neighbors whispered he was as gullible as a carpenter in a lawyer's office, given his blatant betrayal by Mum. Some nights, Pappy sat brown and stocky in our doorway, sat as huge as a side of beef sliced off in an abattoir, and both Mum and me kept aloof as we watched him scrutinize stars and then study the dirt at his feet. When I turned 12, Pappy turned us back to Jerusalem, and I sat in ink-stained wooden desks, auditing preachers and philosophes, who were also perfect panderers and fakes. They spoke so lusciously they could almost sell a whore to God. Truly, they were poshly poetic, but their prayers rhymed finely with profit, P-R-O-F-I-T. When I bandied scripture with them, reversing their hypotheses, hypocrisies with their own verses, I'd frighten the fuck out of them. And they'd holler, "Who the hell you think you are, an apprentice Messiah?" Pappy'd worry when these hyenas mobbed me, and so to please him, I became as awfully silent as God. When I reached 30, I put away my childish rectitude, my facile virtue, and put myself out to temptation. I drifted out into the desert. I stumbled over the dusty bodies of the Roman executed, rotting face down in the dirt, though the night's blackness was alive with throbbing stars. I envisioned incarnate that race of bliss, women, and I was shaken. My cold, unshared bid had never warned to a punk out to skunk some spunk, or a lady eager to get right down and damn and decent, as the tavern poets recite, even though my buddies swore you gotta wallow wholly in smut, tap philosophy from the way an ass bobs and jumps. My mates prodded me to swive soon and often. Could I straddle Magdalena in silks, saddle her with kids, lay out cake and milk, maybe I'd explore humdrum worries, tinker with minute household concerns, and die in well-earned decrepitude. But happy, boisterous, a magnum of wine at my elbow, grandbabies on my lap, Mary beside me, merry as on our wedding eve, dining on bread that is sweet, drinking bastard that is subtle. In the desert, these visions tore at me. I decided to forge my own stride. I'd sourly brood and go about scattering sunlight, wisdom like melted butter and honey, and deliver the promise of fish to anxious hooks. And at that fiesta at Cana, I blushed water into wine. So perfumes acquired operatic pungency, and the usually hang-dog Moors plunged their faces into cups. And everyone partayed so heartily, got so liquored up and fat with cake there was nothing to do but rise and stumble home. Back in Jerusalem, I bullwhipped bullshitters out the temple. And at every jaw's corner, my question marks struck at naysayers like sickles scything down wheat. Multitudes thronged. I touched cripples and they tossed away canes and crutches. One dead guy, Lazarus, bro, to Mary de Magdala, danced right up out his grave, not only sprightly but melodramatically 20 years younger. I eschewed adulation beside an audience. What preacher don't want a church? Soon I attracted disciples a dozen, and the crowds could have, with a nod from me and some miracle of charity, healing the dead, fattening the hungry, conceived themselves an army and menaced the civic powers. I set a direction for poverty, and my nominal coterie and I went about virulently penniless. Yet fame won us feasts and flowers. Those I saved from sick beds and cemeteries celebrated us with gold. Judas warned, worship is a prison. Tonight, wine drills me like a knife. Peter, that gruff saint, breaks a hunk of bread, handsome to stave off our allotted rotting. No faith is to be put in Judas, who swears religion is poetry clarified as lie. He has his backers among the Pharisees, so politically brutal, personally dreary, physically dirty, and stylistically dull. But the price of their praise is his sullen, silvery treason. I go now to my garden danger, Gethsemane. When Rome's paid thugs, their swords glittering wildly in moonlight, swarmed to imprison me, Peter plied in all business anger, lopped one copper's ear, so a crimson rupture splattered a brother legionnaire who yelled, "I said, don't let that motherfucker keep the sword." And you all let him keep his fucking sword. Shit! Now look, my ear is completely fucked. I calmed the chaos, erased the blood squirting from the injured cop's head, repaired his ear. But Peter took advantage of the lull and fled. It was one unsatisfactory victory. Once won for strutting, Peter turns now the stuttering saint. Verily, history is the sport of kings and the tragedy of subjects. The governor's city didn't wish to sign my death warrant, but the public bays for my heart, and he strives for comfortable popularity, so he supplied the provincial executioner a fitting title with 3 spikes and a cross. Bloody, bloody thorns compose my laurels. The spatter of soldiers' spit, hollering torture, mocks my earlier baptism. Fat toads on horseback lash me unerringly, laughing off their lawful abuse, potent insolence and injury. My blood torrents, crazy, scary. Obscenities arrive literally as stabs in the back. I witness face-to-face hatred theirs, suffer back-to-back whipping so goddamn undiplomatic, but I yield no oily hells to anoint my disabled majesty. Tragicomically, some of the very folks I doctored are gathered here now, hollering for my head. You'd think they traded in their crutches to help carpenter my crucifix. Now, under this gray tempered steel sky here in Golgotha, sunk deep nails pierce and splinter my limbs. The winds go hoarse, crying despair and regret. Centurions gamble in open tents made of blankets. Scholars who always curse me as crazy stand before me jeering. Their words rise up like a mob of fists. Was I wrong? I thought I had to orate or else deteriorate. Post my voice to hold lies at bay. But my answers, my quizzes, my rebukes have urged on my extermination. Because I discredited ivory tower talk, the doctorates discard decorum and hurl at me jokes, stones, and garbage, a bunch of kiss-my-ass projectiles. A spear's jabbed in me, I don't care about the bleeding. A woman serves me staggering vinegar, a reversal and a validation of Kana. Now here's Poppy sobbing, wondering why I don't just turn this cross into a chariot. And here's Mom weeping. And there's Mary thinking I've turned my back on her, on us, even though she used her hair to towel my feet, used her tears as oil. Yes, I'd like to strut, then droop with luxury, enjoy a gold leaf orgasm with Mary, plumb her no doubt honeying hips, share wine-saturated cake, and make love filthier and filthier, louder and louder until the strophes, catastrophe of nectar. My destiny is to leave a bittersweet corpse, but omit any obit in favor of this gospel. Ah, God, my sweet God, my separation from all the world, this midnight darkened sun now in, mirrors a lover who eyes a girl but spies the bones beneath her skin, that visible mortality, refuting lust and lechery. Don't muse on doom, but know the grave fulfills its promise. Every eye is a ghost story. You explain yourself, but your presence and the moral is pain. Each and every origin is Genesis in repetition. Gehenna prophesies by Eden. The earth trembles and shudders. Light sluices down black holes. The stars collapse like dominoes. Against this deep violet sky, I want to know I am. Before I become, I was. The world creaks on in its bloody course. Nobody feels anything quite painless. Actually, I would gladly trade places with the grave.
George Elliott Clark. Ladies and gentlemen, have you had a good time tonight? Would you do us a favor when you get home, or even on your way home if you're not driving, just head on to Facebook and Twitter, tell everybody, all your friends, followers even, what a great time you've had tonight. And you can also go to the Calgary Spoken Word Festival website.com or calgaryspokenwordfestival.com. You can find out all the ways to get involved with the festival and also the events that are still coming up. Don't forget, the artists that you've seen here tonight and the artists featured throughout the festival, they've all got books and CDs that are available outside, so you can check them out on your way home. And don't forget the Spoken Word workbook put together by the incomparable Sherry D. Wilson. Thank you for this evening. And Sherry D., with all due respect, I know this is the International Spoken Word Festival, but tonight, Calgary, Vancouver, Toronto, Nova Scotia, Montreal, this is Canadian. This was Canadian talent tonight, and it was simply marvelous. It's been my pleasure to be here. Safe home, everybody. Have a great night, and we'll see you back here at the festival. Thank you.